And that takes me on to introducing you this morning, excuse me, to Chris Mauger. Now, Chris and his family live as far north in Scotland almost as I'm prepared to go. In fact, just talking about it makes me feel slightly chilly as a southerner. So I'd quite like to welcome Chris to the conversation this morning and thank him actually for breaking off of his round. So he's halfway round his job today to join us. So good morning, Chris.
Morning, everyone. Hiya.
How are you doing?
Not bad. Yourselves?
Well, very well, thank you, lovely. I wondered if you could just tell us your story, Chris.
It started in February last year. Stefan, my son, who was 15 at the time, was complaining of back pain, which was an intermittent pain. We went to Inverness Hospital for a routine x-ray. The x-ray, they weren't too sure it was what they had seen, so they sent us through to Aberdeen, where we had more investigations done, a CT scan and a MRI. And excuse me, Stefan got diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Sorry. It was a large tumour was found in between his chest wall and his lungs. So in Aberdeen, they said you have to go through to Edinburgh for specialised treatment. So he undergone 16 cycles of chemotherapy and 6 weeks of radiotherapy. We went through to Edinburgh in March, and because of the length of the treatment, we weren't allowed to come back to Liverpool. So we had to stay in Edinburgh for 9 months. And my wife and my daughter, who was 13 at the time, we had to live in Edinburgh. And then obviously lockdown came with COVID, so we had to stay in a cancer home from home for the whole duration of the treatment. We got home in July for the first time since February for a weekend, because we had to be close to a cancer treatment centre, and the treatment's all been very positive from the start. They couldn't operate due to the fact of where the tumour was. It was too dangerous. So Stefan persevered. He did extremely well. He was our rock. My daughter was 13. She was extremely strong, living away in a strange place, doing online schooling. And obviously my wife, who wasn't able to go to work either. We wanted to stay together and be strong as a family unit instead of being in different places. But the treatment finished in November, and it was all good news. The last biopsy, the tumour was dead, and it shrunk from the size of his whole chest down to the size of a sausage. So Stefan now gets checked every 3 months as routine scans, just to make sure everything's under control.
Thanks for that, Chris. I mean, thank you for sharing your story. It's so important that people hear this. And how were we able to help you?
Well, obviously my wife wasn't working, and she was new in her job where she was at present, and because she was new in, there was no support financially. And I'd spoke to the CWU union rep, and she'd said to get in contact with the Rowland Hill Trust Fund. I actually had never knew you guys existed until that moment, and I emailed you guys, and it was so easy and simple to contact you, to speak to people who understood and was so caring, and they helped us pay our mortgage and our council tax for 6 months, which was such a relief, because living away from home for so long, still running the house in Liverpool, has still had to be heated and bills still had to be paid. It was just took that burden off and gave us peace of mind, and we could all concentrate on Stefan. At the end, we did have a bit of a scare because Stefan's biopsy, his tumour had got larger, and I got in touch with Sharon, and she had said, don't worry, we'll be able to help you out for a few months longer until things settle down again. And that was such a relief, because I didn't go to work till January, so I was off for nearly a year, and without all that extra support from the Rowland Hill Trust Fund, we would have been in a lot of trouble, I think, financially.
How's Stefan now, Chris?
He's doing really well, thank you. He's back at school. He sat his Spanish higher last week. He's back to football, playing football once or twice a week, trying to get his fitness back. He's got his hair back. He's had his first haircut. So all good.
And the only downside to this is, as a family, you're Liverpool supporters, aren't you? So the rough and the smooth.
Yeah,
Chris.
we had a good year in lockdown. We couldn't celebrate, and then this year not so good, but we got fourth, so we'll take that and wait for next year.
Well, can I just say, thank you, because it's hard to share these stories. We're glad we work with you. We're so fantastically overwhelmed and delighted about Stefan's improvement. He's back at school. He's doing all the things a 15-year-old should. And I'd just like to echo to you and to everyone listening, the fund is not a one-stop shop. We help out through people's life, whether they have children who are going through difficulties, parents who are going through difficulties, but we're not a one-stop shop. So when Chris, and if he needs us again in the future, his family will be able to contact us in the, for the next stage of any issues that anyone faces. Chris, thanks so much for your time, because you're going back out on delivery now, aren't you?
I'll sit around for a while and then I'll shoot off if I disappear. But I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone that helped us, and it meant such a lot to us all as a family. Thank you.
Chris, you're so welcome, and we couldn't wish for better news for you and your family.